This is a €25 football boot that you've probably never seen before, and definitely the cheapest boot that I have ever reviewed. So let's review it, and you can decide whether or not you would wear it. These are from the brand Specs, which is a company out of Indonesia, which I've recently reviewed their Lightspeed Reborn SL. And these are an even more budget-friendly option. So this is the Specs Carnage, and based on the previous Specs boot that I reviewed, the Lightspeed Reborn SL, yes, this is definitely a lot cheaper. It's a synthetic material, but it is pretty soft, has a little bit of texturing across the boot, and a burrito style tongue, as well as a pretty pinched, rather triangular, kind of odd shaped heel that doesn't quite seem to be symmetrical to me. However, these actually fit me better than the Lightspeed Reborn. If you saw my review of these, you'll have heard me say that Specs don't make my size. They don't make a US size 8. It's something that a lot of companies maybe in this region do. For example, Autos 8, I also couldn't get a size 8 in those. So I went down to a US 7.5, UK 6.5, EU 40. There is no Japanese sizing on the Specs boots. And what I found with these ones, because they do have a wider forefoot than the Lightspeed, half down, these fit me perfectly even with my wider foot. So if you do want to pick a pair of these up, my advice is to go half a size down, and these are going to fit almost all foot types. If you have a wider foot, you have a slightly narrow foot, a regular width foot, these are going to work pretty well. If you do have a very narrow foot, you want to beware of a lot of dead space under the arch. This seems to be something that comes up with Specs boots a lot, where they leave a lot of room for a flatter foot. These are a great option for a flatter foot in this space. So if you have a high arch or a narrow foot, you're definitely not going to fill out that side there, and you're definitely going to have a little bit of room. However, on the whole, it is pretty good. We will talk about the slightly odd heel in a little bit, but overall, that's your sizing advice, and they're pretty damn comfortable. The outsole on these, I quite like. Again, for €25, I think these are pretty damn good. You've got all of these oval shaped studs, and overall a decent amount of stability through the midfoot and the heel. €25 boots, if you're going to compare them to, for example, like Nike or Adidas club level boots, these are far better than what you're getting, and these are definitely more in line with what you'd expect to get from, say, an academy level boot. They don't go any higher than that. They're not better than the academy level boots, but that is the ballpark. They'd be better than some, worse than others. But that stability in the outsole is nice to see. Decent stud pattern for an FG pitch, definitely studs that are too long for an AG pitch. I mean, just look at these front studs just here. These are very, very long, and I was getting some stud pressure around this area on an AG pitch. Absolutely do not recommend. However, FG pitches, slightly softer, even bordering on SG pitches, these are going to do the job for you. Lockdown in these is only okay. Part of that is because of all this extra room that you're getting in there. You're not feeling particularly close to the boot, close to the ball. And then the burrito style tongue I find never helps you feel particularly locked in. And this is a very thin piece of material that's creating that tongue. So lockdown, not great. And then when we look at the heel, like I say, it is just... it's an odd shape. I don't know whether it's just my pair or not, but it doesn't sit quite central down my heel. Now, this is something that I pretty much got over quite quickly, and there is a reasonable amount of padding, but the heel itself and the material in the heel is pretty slick, so I'm not actually getting locked in particularly well here either, and you don't get the runner's loop option like you got on the Lightspeed. So it's fine. Again, it's a €25 boot. For 25 euros, everything it does is really, really good. And as I say, this is what I would expect from maybe an academy level boot, a league level boot, and it competes with boots 3 times its price, which I think is completely justifiable. But just from a straight up review point of view, lockdowns, eh. Somewhere where this does have an advantage over a lot of academy and league level boots, I think, is going to be in the thickness of the upper. It's not got a ton of foam that's just been bashed into the upper. This happens a lot, even with some Adidas Pro level models, where they throw tons of foam under the boot. It makes you feel really disconnected. It can feel pretty cheap. This is a single outer layer with this texture, this grip touch texture, and then an internal liner to give you a bit of extra structure. It's nothing outstanding, but I can feel a little bit more connected to the ball, a little bit more one-to-one with my touch than with something that has a super amount of padding. The upper itself being nice and soft definitely helps overall, will break in even nicer. It's a decent upper. It's a decent synthetic upper for this particular level of boot, and I don't have a lot of complaints. In fact, I probably have none for 25 euros. Somewhere else that this absolutely excels compared to a lot of other league level boots is in the weight. So if weight is a concern for you, these come in at 178 grams, which is what you'd expect from a top-end speed boot from Nike or Adidas, and they do that without feeling flimsy. These don't feel like they're poorly built or flimsy or going to fall apart, and they've managed to do that and deliver a quite lightweight boot. It was an issue I had with the Outsole where it just felt a little bit cheap in certain areas, not particularly well made. It's not an issue or something that I found with either of the Specs boots. This one in particular, the Lightspeed Reborn Meta SL, being really, really good and well worth considering. And if you want to check out my review on this, I'm going to click on that video right there.